Warning, this video may contain graphic content such as sexual scenes, violence, gore, boobies, and the rest of the fun stuff. Unfortunately, YouTube won't allow that, so we'll try what we can. Please be over 18 to view this video, and don't say we didn't warn you.
Endlessly searching for an original sin.
Hey guys, welcome back to Seiya no Uta. Let's continue. True Scary Stories, Hospital Edition. Chapter 4, The Monster in the Hospital. A medical student releases his shocking experiences. Will you believe him or not? Strange things started happening at the hospital around the end of last spring. It began with patients waking up in the middle of the night screaming. They all spoke of terrifying nightmares, and many of them had to be sedated. Some patients even transferred to other hospitals because of it. The weird thing was that they all had the exact same dream, a dream about some horrifyingly disgusting monster staring down at them from their bedsides. But the really strange stuff started happening after that. There used to be a lot of stray cats around campus looking for scraps from the students. One day the cat suddenly disappeared, and it wasn't that they'd stopped coming. It was more like they'd vanished from the area entirely. And then people started walking their dogs around. According to rumors, the dogs were also refusing to go anywhere near the school. Eventually, things started going missing at the hospital. Organs, to be precise. Transplant organs kept disappearing from storage. People came close to losing their jobs over it. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 times that it happened. They tried to keep it from students, but we heard it was a lot worse than that. People started saying that there was something living in the hospital. The janitors would find strange messes that could only have been made in the middle of the night, traces of something that had crawled down the hallway, or weird stains caused by something dripping through the ceiling. The late-night nurses talked about hearing strange noises on the same night the patients woke screaming. There's one last story, one you could never mention inside the hospital. One day, the department went crazy. They said that a newborn had disappeared in the night. If that were true, the police would have come and it would have been all over the news. But they say the big shots managed to make it all go away. It's just a rumor, of course. These strange incidents suddenly stopped towards the end of the summer. Now there's almost no patients complaining of nightmares, and the cats have started coming back to the campus. But still, what happened to the hospital that summer? Even now, just thinking about it gives me the creeps. This is the 3rd day in a row that they haven't been able to get in touch with Omi. There's no sign of her. There's no sign that she returned to her apartment, and even her family doesn't know anything. Her parents have already filed a missing persons report.
まあ、あいつのことだからな。何事もなかったみたいに、ひょっこり顔出しそうな気もするんだが。
Yo replies with a gloomy expression. She's worried about Omi, of course, but the incident with Fuminari 3 days ago must still be weighing on her as well. Yo hasn't seen Fuminari since then, and Fuminari hasn't made any effort to approach her or Koji. 4 people used to meet in this cafeteria between classes, but now there are only 2.
ねえ、殿くん、もう一度考えてみようよ。どこかおみちゃんの行きそうな場所に心当たりない？
いや、一通りは確かめたしな。
Koji answers evasively. It's a lie, of course. Koji knows where Omi planned to go that evening, but he doesn't want to bring Fuminari up in front of Yo. Their awkward silence is mercifully broken by the bell signaling the start of the next period.
じゃあ、俺行くわ。
Unless Koji's mistaken, Yo is supposed to have a class next period too, but she just sits there staring off into space. Unable to come up with anything to say, he leaves the cafeteria reluctantly. Both Omi's disappearance and Yo's depression worry Koji, and both problems lead back to the exact same place.
海のりは一体
When Omi went missing, the first thing he did was question Fuminari. After all, the last time he'd seen her was just before she stormed off to give Fuminari a piece of her mind. Fuminari responded with an unequivocal denial, and acted like he hadn't the slightest idea why Omi would have gone to see him. Perhaps that was only natural, as he was unaware that Omi and Koji had witnessed him reduce Yo to tears. Did Omi even make it to Fuminari's house? She had been riding a wave of emotions when she'd left, and might have calmed down and changed her mind halfway there. Or perhaps she ran into trouble on the way? Koji concluded, or more accurately convinced himself, that one of these possibilities was the truth, subconsciously denying that one remaining possibility, that Fuminari was lying, that he had met Omi and was involved with her disappearance. When questioned by the police, Koji told the truth that Omi's destination only up to the train station, maintaining that he had no idea where she planned to go after that. He wanted to cooperate with the search, of course, but Omi couldn't have made it to Fuminari's house. Fuminari said so himself, didn't he? In that case, he told the police everything they needed to know. Not wanting to get the still fragile Fuminari involved, he forced himself to accept this flimsy logic. But the conflict has built up inside of him without his notice, leaving unanswered suspicion to fester in his mind. Koji is deep in thought, paying no attention to his surroundings, but perhaps that is what allows him to catch sight of his friend's back through the crowd of milling students.
海のり
At first, Koji assumes that he's headed to the lecture hall, but it soon appears that he is instead going home. Strange, medical students have required courses in the afternoon. Though he is initially surprised, Koji's hesitation lasts for only a second. He follows his friend, taking care to stay far enough behind that he won't be noticed. Fuminari wasn't going home, as became obvious when he boarded a train heading to the opposite direction. Koji's next guess was that he was going to see his doctor to the university at the T University Hospital, but Fuminari rode straight through the closest
ど
station.
こに向かってる
At first, Koji felt ashamed for trailing his friend like this, but his conscience fell silent as Fuminari's actions grew more mysterious. The stranger it gets, the closer Koji feels to discovering the truth behind Fuminari's sudden transformation. Any knowledge would be welcome, no matter how slight. Even Koji is beginning to think that there must be more behind Fuminari's change than the accident alone. He wants a more satisfying answer, but one that will help him decide whether Fuminari can still be trusted. Fuminari gets off at a small station in a nondescript suburb of Tokyo. Koji follows, trying not to lose sight of him amid the other disembarking passengers. The area is quite desolate, and only a small bookstore, a convenience store, and a market in front of the train station. It's easy for Koji to keep Fuminari in view. This neighborhood is carved out of the Fuji foothills, and here there remain steep inclines and wooden areas that escape assimilation. Koji's amazed that such a quiet place exists less than a half an hour of central Tokyo. Fuminari seems to know these streets. He moves quickly and purposefully through the suburban community, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Before long, Fuminari reaches a house. Without ringing the bell or even knocking, he opens the door and vanishes inside, leaving Koji to wonder how Fuminari can treat the house as his own. After waiting to see if Fuminari comes back out, Koji approaches the gate and checks the nameplate. Ogai, it reads. Koji has never heard of anyone by that name among Fuminori's acquaintances. Next, his attention is drawn to the thick wad of leaflets sticking out of the mail slot. This, coupled with the general dilapidated feel of the place, suggests that it has been abandoned for some time. A small playground about 2 blocks away provides an adequate vantage point from which to watch the front of the Ogai home. Fortunately, it does not appear to be the sort of house that has a rear exit. Koji settles down on a bench to begin his stakeout. I should have brought more smokes. 1 hour passes and another, but there remains no sign of movement around the Ogai residence. Soon twilight settles upon the neighborhood. After Koji's 1 pack of cigarettes runs out, the stakeout becomes a battle against mounting impatience. He kills time by redialing Omi on his cell and sending her short text messages, but his efforts are futile as he knew they would be. When the sky begins to turn deep blue and the street lights come on, Fuminori finally emerges from the house and heads back towards the station with the same hurried stride. After some brief consideration, Koji decides that right now, investigating the house is more important than tailing Fuminori. He rings the doorbell just to make sure. After receiving the expected silence in response, he checks to make sure no one is watching and turns the doorknob. The door is not locked. The moment he enters the house, the stale air, thick with mold and dust, fills Koji's nostrils. It is the unmistakable smell of a house that has long lain untouched. There is also a faint hint of something else in the air, something reminiscent of a damp sewer and fetid citerns. Flipping the light switch does nothing. The power must be cut off. Koji uses a lighter to illuminate the immediate area. In the thick dust covering floor, he sees several brand new trails of footprints that could only have been made by shoes, Fuminori's. Koji decides to follow suit and dispenses with courtesy. He enters with his shoes on. He's the smart one! The lighter flickers when he pushes back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. Koji is surprised to see evidence of life remaining. Everything from furniture to tableware and appliances, nothing seems to be missing. The thickness of the dust suggests the house has been empty for several months, which means that the owner must have left with little more than the clothes on his back. Could he have gone on a long vacation? The calendar in the den is still turned to April. Empty and silent, yet still exhibiting signs of the life that was once lived there. The house reminds Koji of a passenger ship entombed at the bottom of the sea. In the graveyard-like quiet, a sinister thought suddenly enters his mind. No one is living here. That does not have to mean the owner left. Maybe he was murdered and his corpse rotting is right under Koji's feet. He finds himself wanting a stronger light. A flashlight in his hand would make him feel a lot better. Koji follows Fuminori's footsteps to the 2nd floor, where he begins to catch the scent of paper in the stale air. It is the smell of old books, instantly recognizable to anyone who has worked in an antique bookstore or library. The first room on the 2nd floor turns out to be the study, its towering shelves packed with such a vast number of books that Koji fears for the stability of the floor. As a medical student himself, he is able to discern at a glance that this study belongs to a medical professor, and a high-level one at that. Judging by the content of the books, a smorgasbord of technical volumes far beyond a simple student's understanding. The owner's interests lie more with medical research than with clinical practice. Fuminori must have spent most of his time here. The scattered dust suggests that he was searching for something, and the contents of the desk drawers are in obvious disarray. A small pile of books stacked on the side of the table catches his eye. Being next to the desk, they must have been the most frequently read. Their nature could shed some light on the character of the person who worked here. Koji frowns as he examines the 3 books. These aren't scientific texts like the rest, but old leather-bound Western tomes like you sort of would find in a rare bookstore. The titles are meaningless to him. Krati des Chevres appears to concern semantics, but Ars Magna et Ultima is some kind of treatise on divination. And then there's the Voynich manuscript, which looks like some sort of picture book. When he pages through it, he finds the text utterly incomprehensible. Maybe it's some kind of cipher? Whatever they are, they clearly have nothing to do with medicine, refuting Koji's earlier guess that this Ogai was a doctor. Looking down, Koji suddenly notices the glint of something black and metallic under the chair. A pocket-sized flashlight, quite out of place among all these dusty books. Fuminori must have brought it in. With relief, Koji exchanges his lighter for the flashlight. Its tiny body emits a powerful white beam that casts away the darkness. His courage restored, he decides to explore the rest of the house. Koji notices something strange, something that was not visible in the lighter's weak flame. The slime and dark oily stains are everywhere. The stains are especially thick around the doorknob and stair banisters, like someone grasped them with hands wrapped in greasy cloth. Looking closer, he sees places where the slime was splashed low on the walls, almost as if a mop was run violently across the floor. Could Ogai have made these marks? If so, how? Koji begins to feel sick as he imagines a man shambling through the house with the slime dripping from his body. Finding a bedroom next to the study, Koji checks the closest closet on a hunch. He discovers 2 empty suitcases. Not that one would leave behind when going on a long vacation. A sudden chill runs through him. Whoever was living here is still somewhere inside the house. Suppressing the urge to flee, Koji goes back downstairs to check the first floor. If he finds a corpse, he'll have to call the police right away. He might get away with trespassing if he reports it first, but if they find the body later, it'd be awful hard to explain his fingerprints all over the house. The flashlight reveals the den to be covered in an even more slime than the rest of the house. The sofa looks as though it were dredged from the bottom of a swamp. In the kitchen, Koji takes one look at the sink and decides not to get any closer. He doesn't want any more fuel for his imagination. He reaches to the door of the bathroom. A common scene from the TV dramas flashes through his head, a body with slit wrists floating in a bathtub full of water. And wasn't there a movie where a hitman disposed of his victim in a bathtub full of lye? Koji braces himself for the worst and opens the door slowly, then shines his light into the ceramic bathtub that appears from the darkness like a white ghost. Bones. A mountain of bones, black with dry flesh and blood. Koji puts one hand against the wall to steady himself. His legs threaten to buckle. Something's wrong. He realizes that he tries desperately to get his thoughts in order. The bones were too small, and there are too many of them. They aren't human. After taking several deep breaths to calm himself, Koji enters the bathroom to examine the tub. The bones are piled atop each other like fallen leaves. They appear to be from small animals, perhaps cats or dogs. Even so, the quantity is mind-boggling. How many bodies would it take to produce this many bones? The bones have all been separated from one another, so it doesn't look like the bodies were just thrown into the tub and left to rot. Each bone is covered with deep grooves, marks left by teeth biting through flesh. Koji's sanity won't let him consider the possibility that a human could have done this. The owner of this house must have kept some sort of carnivorous animal as a pet, giving it the bones of small animals to eat and disposing of the remains in the bathtub. But why not dispose of the leftovers properly? They could have just been thrown out with the garbage. Or was there something keeping him from leaving the house? The relief Koji felt when he realized that the bones were inhuman is once again under attack. In the first place, what the hell was Fuminari doing here?
どうしたコウジ
Well, guys, we'll find that out next time, won't we? See you guys then. Bye.